Thai barbecue takes time, skill, and a blend of perfect temperature, wood, smoke, and meats. We just took it up a notch. Taste the passion. BowTie Barbecue, 6724 Waters Avenue, Savannah.
This is the Danny Britt Show, live from BowTie Barbecue here in Savannah, and coming off of another big win for the Cadets and heading in to the heart of region play. We'll preview it all today and recap what was a massive win up at Warner Robins this past Friday night. And we'll start there. Coach, good to have you here with us. And, man, it was a game that we were looking at and a lot of unknowns. Didn't know how they're going to attack you guys defensively and how are they going to scheme you guys up on the defensive side of the ball. But you guys hit the road travel, bring the run game with you from Savannah, right, and get a big 35-21 victory.
Yeah, and I'm proud of that because, as we said early in the year, we just had to find a run game because we didn't have much of one, and we really went to work on that. Coach Phillips, Coach Coleman, especially just pouring into what we needed to do to establish the run. We did that. Extremely proud of Stanley Smart and his game. I think he had 130-plus yards, 134 yards. And
finally got a score.
Finally got a touchdown, and it was a long one. He busted through there, did exactly what you're supposed to do, just hit it, and it was nobody there between him and the goal line, and he put that 10-6 speed to work, and you could see the relief when he scored. So proud of him, and I think it was a definitely a good showing for us in the running department.
Yeah, Coach, final line there, 36 rushing attempts for 274 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day as a team. And I think that probably could have been 350 yards on the ground and 37 rushing attempts. Another one long one that Josh Washington took to the house, forward pass, rushing attempt. I think that's kind of up for debate right there. But either way, just dominant on the ground. And I thought it started with Stanley just kind of eating it up the middle. I think it was like 5 or 6 straight runs to start the game.
Right.
And I know we had talked last week about how you have to run the ball, especially with as good of a pass rush as they have. Right. But you really come out pounding the rock. And then off of that, you have Stanley up the middle, and then you're flipping the ball outside quickly to guys like Bubba Frazier, to a Josh Washington. And so it really turns into old school I formation football where it's right. You have ISO, and then toss sweep basically is what it becomes.
That's what it is. Football's changed. It's just a quicker way to get it out there.
Right.
And what people have to do. It does put the defense in such a conundrum because you've got to start squeezing the box, right? Whether you're stacking in there or whether you're just getting closer and closer to the box to help in the run game. And then you can just pop it out there really quick and get it to the speedsters. And our guys blocked really good on the edge. Jack Gannum blocked very, very well on the edge all year, really. But last Friday night did a really good job for us and sprung several of those guys.
And, Coach, one thing we noticed in this one, just starting at the line of scrimmage, was the tackles flipped. You bring over you switch right tackle and left tackle. What went into that decision there?
We've talked about it for years. You put your best guy on the backside of the quarterback, and obviously Cannon is right-handed. So we talked about it. We didn't do it last year. Thought, okay, when Carlton was healthy at the beginning of the year, well, we don't need to do it now. You're going to have him for 2 years. 6'4", 300-pound
sure.
Division I guy. Well, he goes out. We move a youngster there, so. We waited, till we, had the time to, and just bounced Jacoby over to the left, and really it doesn't change much other than just you hope you got a little better backside protection.
Yeah, and again the flip there, I thought what was going to be the challenge in this game is obviously they had a bunch of really good pass rushers, but just setting the edge in general for the rushing game or for the passing game, and we had talked about you have to run at them, but maybe a little bit of a switch up for them where they thought they were going to be able to attack that left side. Then all of a sudden They see big Jacoby Ward sitting there at left tackle.
We felt like that maybe could be at least an early, very small advantage. Sure. That they were thinking, they've moved him. So yeah, I'm sure it was something they had to adjust to.
And I thought offensively again came out punching the ball, just working and softening up that front seven there, and they were just kind of trying to play what looked like to me cover 3 over the top, just trying to keep everything in front of them. And I thought Steven did a really good job of just taking what the defense gave them, not trying. If they're going to take away everything deep, it's probably not going to be there. That's fine. We'll pick it up 5, 10, 15 yards at a time.
Definitely, and he's done a good job of that, pretty good job of that all year. And take what they give us. And if it's a 5-yard pass, so be it. That's great. That's beautiful. And with our athletes, that can very quickly turn into a 60-yard touchdown.
And Bubba Frazier, 5 carries for 84 yards, and then another 5 receptions for 74 yards. Almost an equal split there for you guys offensively. What was he able to do successfully on Friday?
He was the key guy really in everything, because it's just you can't really defend him. You don't know how to necessarily stop him. He also had he had over 200 yards of total offense because of a return game. So, he does so many things well. The buck sweep, the 2 buck sweeps he ran, and I think he got like 15 on one and like 5 maybe on the other.
Right.
But he's beautiful. He cleaned his cleats and accelerated so fast and did it exactly like you're supposed to do. So it was beautiful.
Again, another big game from him. And I think what's really starting to happen is the offense is getting comfortable. The cast of characters is kind of solidifying a little bit. You know which formations you're going to be in, which group you're going to be in. And with that, I think the motion game is really starting to come into it, where you guys can start in doubles, but all of a sudden you send a guy in motion, you're in trips one side, and you have an advantage over there in the numbers game. I think week to week, that's becoming more and more prominent.
Definitely, and Coach Phillips does a great job of that with shifting and motion and just anything to get the angles and the numbers, right? That's what it's all about, is getting angles and numbers. He does a great job with that, and we're becoming more comfortable with it.
It's hard to do with a young team.
It is. It's hard to, in so many ways we started over with these guys, and so it's hard to develop that and get really good at it. Honestly, here's what I said on Monday. I was talking to Third Scroggins. He was Savannah Quarterback Club Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week for a couple of weeks ago. And we were just talking on the way over, and I said I really felt like Monday was the first time where we had any rhythm, meaning, we played a game Friday night, we had success, we feel good about it, we're back to work on Monday, and we felt like we're in a little bit of a rhythm now, and this is really the first time all year.
Absolutely. And again, schedule changes a little bit. We're going to talk about that here going forward, but sticking with this, you mentioned Stanley Smart. He finally broke one. We finally got to see the track speed that you had talked about over and over again. And it was very much the whole game. It was clogged up really at the point of attack. And I thought he did a really good job of hitting the hole and then breaking. And it's a lot of times those 4 or 5 yards at a time. But when it finally became just that clear open field, that lane, he did what we talked about. He hit his head on the goalpost.
He did. And he's we've been talking about that all year. And he's the past couple of games he's been doing that. It didn't break, but finally did. He accelerated through there. We did a great job. It was just basic 35 lead, wing T form of ISO, and he went through, and everybody blocked their man. The inside linebacker took a bad angle, so there was nobody there. The safety and corner tried to converge, but he showed his speed and split them, and they had no chance. So that 10-6 speed, showed out, and again, you could see the relief in his celebration when he scored, because he was very, very excited.
Sometimes you start thinking it's never going to happen.
And we kept saying it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and we feel like once it happens, it's going to be like a dam busting. It's just going to explode for him, and I think it will, and very proud for him for that, though.
And I think this past Friday night was a very good example. There's a lot of really good teams in the state of Georgia, but there's not a lot of great teams. And obviously y'all's goal is to be great, go win a state championship. And I think usually the difference is most really good teams have 15 to 20 guys that they feel very comfortable putting out on the field and confident about it. It's the depth after that really starts to come into play. And I look at the stat line, I see some guys like Jack Ganem who only had 2 touches, but one of those was a touchdown. JoJo Sutton gets in there in the run game and busts some big crucial yards for you guys. John Lilly takes advantage of his only touch of the game and takes it 17 yards for a touchdown. Just having that cast of characters after the first group that everybody's going to focus on, like I said, I think can be the difference between being good and great.
It definitely is, and that's something we work hard on. That's also a reason why we play everybody on both sides of the ball, so that we can, one, it makes them a better football player just in general. 2, so that we can use those guys like JoJo. He's been starting corner. He does a really good job for us defensively, but he has a lot of talent offensively. So it won't be as many, but we can mix him in. He's a little bit different running style than Stanley, and it does a good job. Aaron Mallard, a lot of speed, as we've seen this year.
He got a touchdown on 3 carries,
and had a touchdown. We got down there close to the end zone. You're focused on Stan, you're focused on Bubba Frazier, and then Aaron Mallard gets the ball and gets in the end zone. Very good run too, by the way. So that's what we try to be. And again, that's championship level depth there when you can do that. And hopefully we can, if we can keep people healthy, we can take advantage.
And 58 plays, 481 yards. And again, 274 of those were on the ground, 5 touchdowns on the day for the offense. And I thought, Coach, maybe the cleanest game of the year penalty-wise. I know there's still some penalties, but I thought the biggest difference was you guys were able to stay in front of the change, whereas Warner Robins, a lot of times, penalties and negative plays kept them behind the chains.
I have to agree with that. I think it was clean. We ended up with, I think it was 8 called penalties. You're right. It didn't seem to hurt as much.
Right.
It wasn't in crucial situations, etc. We run for those penalties. I only made them run for 4 because I believe the other 4 were
questionable,
okay, to say the least. Obviously pre-snap penalties, post-snap penalties we run for, except for the one they did call Isaiah Jones for a late hit because he's, I guess, slung the quarterback. But I don't know how else he gets him down. I mean, it wasn't.
That's a big dude.
He was coming from an angle, and he that's all he could really do, and he started tackling him inbounds and kind of slung him out of bounds, and only because it was a quarterback and it was on their side did he get the call. So I took that one away from him. But pre and post snap penalties is the worst things. I mean, you're going to every once in a while get a hold, or you're going to get certain things you'll get a PI, because you're just playing hard.
Right.
But I thought it was clean. I'll tell you this, the head official had never had us before, and he came up to me right at the end there and said that he's been doing it for 40 years, and it was the most disciplined football team he'd ever seen.
I think that's the best compliment a coach can get. Right
that's exactly what I told him. I said, that is exactly what we're going for. It's the school. That is what is expected of us. And, so I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I always heard mental penalties. Those are the unacceptable ones. Physical penalties, you just kind of got to take those with how the game goes. But on the defensive side of the ball, Coach, you mentioned third earlier. Over the past 2 games, 8.5 sacks. Had 4.5 sacks a couple weeks ago and another 4 this past Friday night. And I thought really he started eating when you guys created that big lead. I think he scored on back-to-back plays on one point to start the scoring to go up 14-0. But you guys create a big lead. Warner Robins has to go more into a little bit of a drop-back passing game.
Right. And
when you got a guy like third out there, that's just where he feasts.
He does, and that's what happened exactly. They started, okay, now we gotta make sure we got to back up and throw the ball because they had fell behind, and then let him eat, and then of course Coach Houston starts calling that way, and he could go, and you're right, 8.5 sacks in 2 games. That's pretty daggum impressive.
Yeah, that'll turn some heads right there for the Miami commit. But just overall defensively, Coach, I know you can't say it last week, but going into this game, what really concerned you? What were you worried about at kickoff and going into that game?
Defensively or overall?
Defensively, trying to defend that quarterback and that team.
The quarterback doing what he did a few times is just off script plays, and he's really good at it. Very athletic. I wasn't necessarily worried about. I didn't think he's very accurate, so I wasn't necessarily worried about him sitting back and just dotting us up. But I was worried about him off script plays. We get back there, don't get him on the ground. He scrambles around, he finds somebody, or he just runs it like he did one time for the touchdown. So that was the biggest concern for me, was that. And I thought, other than that one play, I thought we did a pretty good job. I know they scored on the long pass there right before half, and it's just kind of threw the ball up, and it was what it was. But we should have been. Our free safety was supposed to be playing high over him. We were man free, and he was supposed to be over the Division I number 7, and he went to the other side. So Wyatt and I had conversation, and Coach Houston and Wyatt had conversation about that.
Brother, we kind of got a skew to that side.
Yeah. Come on, man. We got to know who the guys are, but I thought we did a pretty good job.
And I have kind of noticed, whether at the high school level or the college level, when you're playing a running quarterback, usually the mindset is if you're getting run all over, you put 5-6 guys on the line of scrimmage. But it seems like one of the new strategies, and I've seen you guys do this too, is you put 3 down, and then you kind of have 5 linebackers.
Right. And
then once the snap happens, you realize which way they're going. It's almost like you're pulling a string on a net and trying to pull it in. Is that something you guys implemented on Friday?
We have done that. It's something been a part of the defensive scheme for years. And and you just, one, you get more athletic people out there, kind of. And 2, it it builds an umbrella around him to kind of help you. I mean, he may get 5 yards, but you get him on the ground.
Absolutely. And again, a big performance. You do give up the 21 points there, but 35-21, a big-time score to start region play against one of the teams that was going to be competing and still competing to win that region. And just kind of a recap there, this is going to be really tight in terms of the race to win the region. When it comes down to tiebreakers and stuff like that, the point separation there in the region matters.
It does, and it's points given up.
Right.
So, that's what we got to be aware of. And you can't, I mean, if you're definitely in a situation where you're winning big, you can think about it. Situations like the other night,
right.
You just got to go play. But yeah, it's points, points given up in the region. So, but once you win, you kind of
right.
You've taken care of that. So my idea, you
control your own destiny.
Control your own destiny. Go win the daggum games, and we do that, and we control our own destiny.
Coach, before we turn the page over to Ware County, any other performances stand out for you on Friday night?
I thought a lot of people played really well and hard. Mentioned Jack Gannum, just really blocked extremely well. Only got the ball once, I think, but blocked very well. I thought defensively, I thought Cam Cody played well again, as we expect him to. But he finally got the Ball Hawk Award, and it's hard to get a lot of stats when you're playing nose guard most of the time, and that's we had to move him in there, and he's getting double and triple teamed legitimately all the time and still making plays. So because he's just a dude, I thought he played well. I want to mention that Colby Brennan was sick. I mean, dog sick. You could tell. I looked at him and I went to Galen. I was like, "There's no way this kid's gonna be able to play." I didn't tell him that.
Right.
I'm like, "Hey, don't be sick." But he went out and played and did really well. Now
8 tackles and a sack.
He did.
That'll be all right.
He did, and he Galen did a good job. Coach Housen did a good job of watching him. And when he needed a blow, because obviously he would get tired a little quicker than normal, they would pull him out. And Jaden Houston, Galen's son, went in and had a good game. He had 4 tackles. So, that's what it's all about. But I'm proud of him for just coming out and pushing through and just, doing what he's supposed to do for his team.
As a coach's son, I'm curious, what's that relationship like on the sideline? There's nothing there. You think you're tight and scared and nervous for a game. Now imagine your dad standing on the sideline too. What's that relationship like?
So, and he's a primarily defensive guy.
Right.
So it's just Galen is hard, which you got to be when you're the coach. You got to be harder on that kid than everybody else. And Galen is. I mean, he lights him up. And I even went to Galen one time. I'm like, "Hey man, you don't have to be that mean on him." He's like, "You better do that." And so yeah, he's hard on him, but Jaden handles it. He's been around us. He used to come. He'd spend every summer with us coaches and go to passing camps and come to football camp, and he would come during Thanksgiving and all. So he's been around it so much, he understands how it works. He's seen it all, so he's good with it.
There you go. And again, a big 35-21 win there to start region play 1-0. Now with the schedule flip, Ware County coming to Memorial Stadium this Friday night. That's going to be a big one, so make sure you get out for it. We're going to come back. We'll preview it after these commercials from our sponsors right after this.
At Benedictine alumni-owned Stacked Firewood Delivery, we're all about the best premium firewood, conveniently delivered in manageable stacks at the right price. We're talking kiln-dried, pest-free firewood. You see, our custom stack is equal to about 10 fires. Choose oak, cherry, hickory, or mixed hardwoods. Stacked Firewood Delivery. Go to stackedwood.com. That's stackedwood.com. BC Brothers Moving is Savannah's most trusted moving service. From residential to commercial to packing supplies, BC Brothers does it all. Let BC Brothers' energetic, trustworthy team wrap it, pack it, and move it for you. Check out BC Brothers online at bcbrothersmoving.com or give them a like on Facebook.
Christian, after a day of the hottest sports in town, sometimes you just gotta unwind.
Yeah, Kevin, and the perfect place to do it, Cool Vibes Pizza and Wings.
That's because Cool Vibes offers delicious pizza, wings, sandwiches, and salads, all with a Jamaican Caribbean island twist.
And the atmosphere is 100% kicked back. No worries, man.
Plus, they're the home of the Oxtail Pizza.
Cool Vibes Pizza, 4501 Montgomery Street, Savannah. That's coolvibespizza.com. Cool with a K.
Come on and unwind at Cool Vibes.
Ace Hardware is celebrating 100 years of helpful, and Island's Ace Hardware is Savannah's own. 318 Johnny Mercer Boulevard in Wilmington Island. They're our hometown, locally owned Ace Hardware. From A to Z, they've got it all to help you get things done. Island's Ace Hardware is a proud BC sponsor.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
BowTie Barbecue has always been a work of passion. It takes time, skill, and a blend of perfect temperature, wood, smoke, and meats. We just took it up a notch. Taste the passion. BowTie Barbecue, 6724 Waters Avenue, Savannah.
Welcome back into the Danny Britt Show, live here from BowTie Barbecue in Savannah. Christian Gokel alongside the head football coach for your cadets, Danny Britt. And Coach 1-0 in region play, getting ready to welcome in a team y'all are very familiar with, new to the region this year, but a team that you guys have competed against in South Georgia for a long time. Ware County comes to town 2-3 on the season, and that's not indicative of how good this football team is with the athletes they have.
Definitely not, and it is homecoming. So Abel's Iron On Moore and Associates would like to welcome back all the alumni who will be attending this week's game. Whether you visit occasionally or are fortunate enough to be around BC regularly, we consider ourselves a family, and homecoming week serves as a powerful reminder of that bond.
Yeah, a big, massive game here, Coach. And before, we did want to mention a game that's it loses a little bit when you have people out. And it's just, you guys want to play the best every single week. Obviously, you want to win, but you want to win against the best someone can put forward. And unfortunately for Ware County, RJ Boyd, they're all everything running back, just an outstanding football player, still committed to play football at NC State up there, is going to be missing the remainder of his high school career with the cancer diagnosis there. And obviously, our thoughts and prayers with him. But going to miss seeing him out there on Friday.
Yeah, definitely. We certainly feel for him, and we found about it in the summer, and of course immediately called Coach Strickland and offered our sympathies. We prayed for him at that time as a team, and just hate that certainly for anybody, but a young man prime of his life. We wish nothing but the best for him, and want him to continue to go out and have success. And his younger brother is now the primary running back.
There you go.
And number two, I think his name's Jameer. It's Jay Boyd. I'm not sure if it's what exactly first name, but I know this. He can go. So we still have a Boyd to worry about, I promise.
On it, little brother energy.
Yeah.
Big brother energy too. So you got that to worry about. But Coach, when I think Ware County, it's one of those names that stands out across the state. Obviously, a state championship program there under Coach Strickland, but it's athletes and it's well coached and it travels.
Right, very well. I think it's a number of things. One, yes, great athletes. They've always got really good athletes, lots of guys that can really run and really hit. And I think it's a good mix of kind of country kids and city kids, and that's always a good mixture of guys that know how to work. And Coach Strickland runs a great program. We've known that for years now. We've competed against each other plenty of times, and know it's going to be a major battle. Again, a great football program. As you mentioned earlier, the record doesn't indicate what kind of team they are. They lost to some very good teams, two from Florida that are big-time good football programs.
And again, coming in at 2-3, but as you mentioned, the out-of-state losses there to, I believe, Bartram Trail and Lincoln were the two schools that they played out of Florida. And Bartram Trail was a 1-point loss in overtime, and Lincoln was 2-0, and that was kind of in the middle of everything happening with Helene coming through. But mentioning that, Coach, this is a team that hasn't been able to play for a while. They've played 5 games, like you guys have played 5 games, while some other teams in the state have played 7 already, and they in their town took almost the brunt of that hurricane. So they're coming to play in Savannah right now because honestly, the infrastructure just still isn't there for them to be able to host a game right now. So a team that's playing for a little bit more too coming to town.
I think so. I think I'm sure they're going to be emotional and, excited to play. They haven't been able to play. I guess it'll be 3 weeks now that they haven't been able to do anything. So I'm sure they'll be emotional and excited to play the game. And, that can offer up some challenges. Either way, as a coach, you worry which way will it go? I wish nothing but the best for them, except for the 2.5 hours.
That's right.
We're competing against each other, and I hope things don't go very well for them on Friday night.
And I want to start, Coach, offensively for you guys going up against a really good defense for the Gators and a traditional kind of 4-3 look. A lot of times they're going to have 4 down linemen, and I think 4-3 is kind of up in the air in high school a lot of times because you kind of have that nickel player who can play as a linebacker or in the secondary. But what I've noticed that they do, and I'm sure you guys have noticed a lot more, but don't give up big plays. They usually keep 4 guys over the top, keep everything in front of them, and try to make you work your way way down the field.
And that is what they're trying to do. They play very good defense. You're right. 4-3 is just they do a number of things out of it, but can just play straight base on you. Right. Play what a cover 4 look behind. Just again trying to keep things in front. Let you make the mistakes and not going to beat themselves. So, we got to be aware of that. And like you said, Stephen did last week. If they, they're going to cover down the field, hit that 5-yard pass. Take the 5-yard run when we need it. Those sort of things. They're going to make you do that, and they got a lot of speed to make up. Even if there is a mistake, they can make up for it. So we're going to have to be very sound offensively in order to win this game.
And it's one of those things where obviously execution comes into play, but you can have a great offensive drive going, but once it gets down inside the red zone, all of a sudden defense tightens up, some things change, some strategy changes because they're not having to defend over the top quite as much. Execution in the red zone, I think, is going to be big, both offensively and defensively in this one. I
think so too, because it's anytime you get into a really tough situation playing a really good football team, that's going to become a factor because I think both teams are going to move the ball. I mean, we're too good of programs not to move the ball. It's what can you do with it once you get down to the 20-yard line, get inside the 20, get inside the 10. Can you punch it in and instead of kicking field goals, which we both have very good field goal kickers, by the way. So instead of kicking field goals, score touchdowns.
Now, next question. I think if you have the correct answer for this, you're Vince Lombardi and Bill Belichick put together. So it's probably an impossible question to answer. But with a guy like Stanley Smart and with the rushing game that you guys just had, 270-plus yards, Stanley Smart had over 130 yards. How do you take that and get it and funnel it into continuing it, not into just in this game, but going forward?
Well, yeah, that's a deep question, really. How do you do that? I think one, you find, which I think Coach DePhilip has, you find what you do well and continue to do that. Yeah. And you don't change things that aren't broke. Don't change if it ain't broke, right?
Sure.
So if we're doing things well, continue to do that. And obviously they will feel more and more comfortable with running those plays, with blocking things in a certain way. So you continue to do what you've been doing. But, that's not always so easy because you're playing a different defense, a different scheme, different play callers.
And you have 16, 17-year-olds out there doing
it. And you have young kids that are different every week. So, it's not always easy to do that. But, and again, as of Monday, I felt like we were in a little bit of the rhythm finally, offensively, as a team across the board. So hopefully we can keep that going.
And with your quarterback, I know you say you don't like to have these conversations with them, but with a defense that's going to try to keep everything in front of them, is that a conversation this week that's, hey, take what's there. Don't try to force it too deep, especially with a really talented athletic defensive line coming at you.
Yeah, and that's been said to him. Coach Phillips has said that a number of times, just take what's there. Don't try to force anything, and just continue to take what you can get and let it go from there.
And then offensively for them, a run-biased team, I think is a fair thing to say. Still can throw the football around, but their goal is to put a tight end and another blocker out there and just try to get you going the wrong way. And a team, I know you guys have pointed out before, that likes to run towards the boundary, towards the sideline that's close to them. What does that do for an offense? Why do they emphasize that so much?
Well, the primary reason people like to run toward their own sideline is to get calls, holding calls, to get the calls, because you can influence or they can influence the official. I never can for some reason.
Y'all are just manipulative and mean. And
yeah, I tell you what, I guess I'm too mean because I can't ever influence them in a positive way, and I tend to be rather harsh, I guess. But that's the number one thing too. You can see what's going on. I think as a coach, like a lot of times the guy making the calls can't necessarily see as well. So now, most of the time now your offensive play callers are actually in the booth. So
but I think Coach Strickland might still call plays.
He does, along with, he has an offensive coordinator, but Coach Strickland still does call the play. So there you go. Yeah. So he's on the sideline, so he needs to see that. But those are the two primary reasons. And I think habit sometimes too. It's just what happens.
And I'm sure there's a play call for it, but just it seems like their go-to run play it's almost like a dive out of the shotgun, and then the running back's either going to go 90 degrees left or 90 degrees right, and then just try to find a hole. And they've done it for a long time, and they're really talented at it.
And it's just zone. It's just running the zone, and the backs are good enough to see and realize the cutback's there. And then now sometimes there is that you call that play, and then they also run the H-back and use the H-back and run the split zone, which is, you're basically blocking the zone to the right. You kick out the end man on the left, and you run off the edge to the left. So, that's a split zone. They do that really well too.
Just looking at your defense, who's going to have a big game to slow that down?
I think one, which is good, third Scroggins is going to have to, really need him to have a big game, both in the run game as well as the passing game, and then Larson and Colby Brennan, the inside linebackers, are going to have to play well.
Again, two teams here competing for this region, and this is the first game for Ware County in region play. Just coming out, winning this one, and putting yourselves kind of in that driver's seat for a head-to-head coming up against Perry. It's got to be massive.
Yeah, it
I know
is.
you can't think that far ahead, but winning this one puts you in a good spot.
No, we know that. I mean, we win this one, and we really are feeling pretty good about our chances and what we can do. And and we knew this coming in. It's going to be one heck of a region, and it's going to be tough. And so, one game at a time. But we feel like if we can go get this one, we're in a great situation.
All right, I'm going to give you one more chance to coach before we get out of here. It's homecoming, so it shouldn't be too hard to get fans in the stands. But I don't know if you're at Kirby Smart this past weekend saying It doesn't matter if you're in the stands if you're not being loud when you need to be loud. So I'm going to give you a chance to coach up the fans right now watching this, whether right now or a little bit later before the game. When do you need them? I know everybody's talking and in the stands and being happy, but when do you need them on their feet being loud?
Yeah, I do definitely need them on their feet being loud the entire time, actually, because it generates energy within the players, and they love it. Obviously, defensively, we get them in third down situations. You want to get loud and make it difficult on them to make their checks and to make a play, and also energize our guys. But I expect to have a big crowd out there. I hope everybody comes out. First of all, I don't know what's wrong with you if you don't come out, because it's going to be in the 60s,
Perfect,
a nice breeze, perfect weather. It's homecoming. All right, we're good Catholics, so you can tailgate all you want beforehand.
100%.
And then come in, and just going to be a beautiful night for football against Ware County, of all people. What has become our probably only rival is Ware County. That's become our rivalry, and so all of that in place, we need everybody to come out and support us. And the boys, it really does energize the players.
All right, last question before I let you get out of here, Coach. This is a big one for homecoming, and the guys usually here to ask it isn't here today, so I'll ask it for them. What's the uniform combo?
So I do know this week, because they asked for some permission to do something a little bit different, but we will be in all maroon on Friday.
To me, that's the best.
Throwback all maroon. Yep.
To me, that's the best look there. So there you go. Reporting it now, breaking news, all maroon for the Cadets coming up on Friday. But again, a massive game coming up. Ware County coming to town. Their first region game. BC currently 1-0 in region play. So a win on Friday night puts BC in the driver's seat. They're controlling their own destiny to take the top of this region and really put themselves in a good spot for the playoffs. Kevin Thomas and myself will be on the call. You can catch it on the YouTube channel right here. Watch bcsports.com as well. And Coach, a massive one on Friday, man. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Go Cadets.